All right, hopefully we're live. You are tuned in to ACAB Radio. This is episode 30. We're brought to you by Food Not Bombs Las Vegas. That's foodnotbombslasvegas.org and Nevada Cop Block, nvcopblock.org. I'm your host, Jay Lyfer, King Ron, Kelly, Special K Patterson, and we've been away for a few weeks, almost a month now. So we've got a lot of catching up to do. Over the last 3 weeks, there's been a lot of stories related to police accountability or lack thereof that have gone viral, both locally and nationally. So we're going to dive right into this article right here. I hope everybody had a happy holidays and Merry Christmas. But in Hawaii, they decided to celebrate Christmas by forcibly removing the entire homeless population there. I forget the name of the city, but in Hawaii. So that's how they decided to deal with homelessness. Try to arrest your way out of it, or just forcibly remove them.
Yeah, if they just put them out of sight, then they'll disappear.
Yeah. That's right, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, and it's not like that's unique to Hawaii, because they've done that here. And, their special fucking addition to that here is to steal all their blankets and
sleeping bags and stuff, yeah.
So that they can, die out there in the cold.
Yeah.
That's true. We'll see. It's beginning of the year. So the count starts again for the people who die on the streets. And actually tonight we're going to have a deep freeze, which means it's going to be below zero for 5 or 6 hours. And I've been out a lot recently, and I noticed that the resources have been lacking, where last year I noticed that there were a lot more tents and blankets being given out by groups. I've been asking, and very few groups have been out providing any sort of that, extra layer of protection against the cold. And we do what we can, but the problem is much bigger than one little group. Yep. Like I said, the other groups, man, they used to go out with trucks, and everybody had sleeping bags and tents and food. And, man, I've been driving around, and nary a person has been out. Only a few other people that I've noticed. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, and it has been cold as fuck. Like, I had to break out my fur hat, because it's so fucking cold here in Vegas lately.
Yeah, no kidding.
But part of that is also they have that big PR campaign going around about, like, make sure you give everything to the shelters and don't give it to the people out there that actually need it.
Yeah.
Right, and then they dole it out or save it as, stockpiling.
Mm-hmm. Or they'll, I know Goodwill, if it's not good enough to resell, they'll, sell it in bulk by weight to companies that, recycle it and make other goods out of it. So it doesn't even go to people,
Yeah, and contrary to common, belief, Goodwill is not a nonprofit. They're a for-profit company.
Yep.
So people donate stuff to them, and then they turn around and sell it for profit.
Right, and then their workers are also paid pretty crappy and treated like shit.
Yeah, they have the loophole that if you hire disabled workers, you can pay them $3 an hour.
Yeah.
Right, less because they can't work as an able body. So the discrimination against the disabled is disgusting.
Yeah.
And these people, it's a paycheck. I mean, this is how they pay their rent. They pay for food, medicine. So when you have companies like this, while their CEO is making, decent salaries, fucking the workers, making sure that they stay in poverty. They're not good people.
Yeah, and that would, the theory behind that is that way it enables people to hire disabled workers, which in theory is good, except when you're a $1 billion corporation and you're paying your CEO, 7 figures, and you've got a board full of people that are pulling in 6 figures at least, then maybe you should have a heart and actually pay your workers what they deserve.
Yeah.
Pay them a living wage.
Absolutely.
Especially when your name is Goodwill.
Yeah. Or we could just change the definition of goodwill to, something that means the opposite.
All right. Some Orwellian doublespeak there.
Huh.
You could put those air quotes on it.
Yeah.
Goodwill. So yeah, Happy New Year to everybody. Just wanted to do a recap on all the stupid shit that people called the cops on black people for last year. Some of them are operating a lemonade stand, golfing too slowly, waiting for a friend at Starbucks. That's a big one. And the list just goes on and on.
And
If
the
you go to
recent one
Starbucks
is,
and you're black, you should wear body armor.
well, now it's lodging while black at the Doubletree hotel chain.
Yeah, I saw that.
If you saw that, that's the most recent that I saw.
Yeah. Redeeming a coupon. I think I was at CVS or Walgreens. I forget which one.
Yeah.
I remember that. And these are just stories that CNN covered. I was surprised that CNN actually covered these stories, but I mean, it's a long list, and that's just what they covered. You know, there's way more stories than just these.
Right, these are the ones that people actually get on film, or
Yeah.
they make the news. But every day, this happens, constantly, and it's not reported or it's not filmed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's part of the, film the police effect also, is that people are in the mindset, like, if somebody's fucking with you, you film them. And they should. Because I guarantee you all these things that are happening were happening before. We just didn't have videos of them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I put this image here. How many people have to be killed by police before you start speaking out? And I put this here because, I mean, you might be calling the cops over something stupid like selling bottled water on a sidewalk, but there's nothing that the police, nothing too small or trivial that the police won't kill you over to enforce. Whether it's jaywalking, there's been numerous stories that we've covered of just bullshit cops wouldn't even cite you for, but they'll kill you for, you know what I mean? Working as a home inspector, working as a firefighter, helping a homeless man, delivering newspapers. These are all things that dumbass barbecue Beckies and permit patties call the police for, and it could seriously, not even exaggerating, cost somebody their life.
Right. Well, one of the things that, you also have to bring up is that the corporations, the Starbucks, the Doubletrees, all the other businesses where the employees call the cops, they're using the police as a private police force to enforce racist policies. So the police come in and enforce racist policies instead of telling the people, like, fuck off, there's no crime here, and leaving. The police go and arrest folks.
Right.
And it's kind of sick that they're using, corporations are using the police as a private military to, exact some sort of vengeance against, the people in their store who are just happen, to be black or Latino.
Well, that's
So,
the thing. Anytime you call the police, somebody potentially might get murdered.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because the police is, if you don't obey them, because they say it all the fucking time, comply or die.
Yep.
If you don't obey whatever command they have, regardless of whether that command is warranted or not, then they're going to kill you.
Can't wait to get their tattoos.
Yeah. Some other stories that are relevant to the new year. These are just a few headlines from the last 3 weeks. Baltimore police expunged officers' internal affairs files. All of these headlines, it's basically police departments, juvenile detention centers.
It's that transparency that they always
Exactly.
promise when they're running for office.
Yep, the lack of transparency. It's basically a cover-up. It's them trying to cover their tracks, and whether it's shredding documents or destroying, shooting, officer-involved shooting records because of the new law that they passed in California, where the people got this law passed in an effort to get more transparency. So they're like, oh shit, January 1st we have to start releasing all this stuff. We better fucking get rid of all these records.
That's the Nazis did it at the end of the war. They
Yeah, it's
started
like book
burning
burning.
all their files.
And obviously,
So,
when this
you know.
entire department destroys evidence, then it's just a couple bad apples acting. It's
Right.
It's not the whole department. being
Exactly.
complicit.
Yeah, it's not the thin blue there trying to cover for each other's misdeeds.
Right. It makes ACAB irrelevant.
So now there were too many instances of, pedo pigs, pedophile cops, rapist officers. just in the last 3 weeks.
Officer inappropriately friendly.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start here. The first guy is Mark Icker. He's 29, Ashley Borough police officer, was charged with oppression and coercion, suspended with pay. Ashley Borough is in Pennsylvania. Mark Icker, he pulled over a woman for a DUI. She was on bail, so he told her she would be arrested unless she performed oral sex on him. And she ended
You
up...
wonder why we call them pigs?
Yeah. She ended up reporting it, and so he's been charged with oppression and charged with coercion. But he's still getting paid while the investigation is ongoing.
So nothing has changed in the police department. They're paying pedophiles and sexual predators.
Yeah. That's why he's got that big smile on his face.
Yep.
And then
But now he gets to sit home and binge watch Game of Thrones.
And I'm sure his buddies will set up a GoFundMe account and collect money for
on
the money
top
that
of
he's
his...
not
Yep.
missing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The second guy is Donnie Lewis Dixon. He's 40 years old, from Chesterfield Sheriff's Department. He was actually a captain, charged with felony distribution of child porn back in June. Chesterfield is in Richmond, Virginia. He worked at a county jail. And he got a sweetheart deal like they always do, reduced from felony distribution of child porn down to misdemeanor contributing to the delinquency of a minor. That could be like, that charge is meant for like if you buy, your underage cousin a beer. You know what I mean?
Or a
They
pack
give
of
you-
cigarettes.
Yeah. Not fucking distributing child pornography.
No, this guy's a monster.
Yeah.
And they let him go.
Yep. Gave him the sweetheart deal of a lifetime like they always do. It's just fucking
and
disgusting.
that charge is basically the level of like a parking ticket.
Yep.
Like it's
Yeah.
nothing. It doesn't even hardly show up on your record.
No.
I don't know how any parent in good conscience could ever tell their child now to, if you're in trouble, go to the police, because the chances are the police are going to take that child and do something unspeakable. It's
Yeah.
shown time and time again. How many were there for just this few
Just
weeks?
this week, there's 11 cases that we're going to cover here. We're only
Right.
on
That we
2
know
right
about.
now. Yeah,
That doesn't cover the ones
That we don't
got
know
covered
about
up
yet.
and that their buddies didn't even bother to arrest him on.
And there's 52 weeks in a year, folks.
Yeah. So, on top of getting the sweetheart deal where it was reduced to contributing to the delinquency of a minor, he'll see no jail time. He got 1 year suspended sentence. Counseling, this is for distribution of child porn. He got counseling. So since it was reduced to this misdemeanor, he doesn't have to register as a sex offender. So this guy who's, distributing child pornography online doesn't have to register as a sex offender.
No.
And he can get hired at another department, because any department will hire you if the only thing on your record is contributing to the delinquency of a minor. You can still work for another police department.
Yeah.
So
You can kill people and get fired for excessive force and still get hired by the police department.
No, that's true.
yeah, as long as you retire
Yeah.
or resign instead
You know,
of getting fired.
If you're in these towns, take a look at these pictures. Know this guy, because he may be your neighbor. And when your kid's out there, selling cookies or candy bars for the school, you kind of maybe want to think about skipping this guy's house. Or if you go trick-or-treating,
Yeah.
he might not be the house you want to knock on the door to.
The guy next to him's even worse. The third guy. This is a story I found on the Free Thought Project. Terry Yetman, 38, Bossier City Police Department. That's in Louisiana. He got 20 counts of sexual abuse of animals. 20 counts of filming sex acts with animals. So not only did he abuse these animals, but he filmed it too. So it's pretty fucking gross.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But he could figure out how to work a video camera then too.
Right?
Yeah. They just
So-
have trouble with body cameras.
Yeah.
That's the only
So
thing.
there we go. We go from, we got the gamut here, man.
Mm-hmm.
We got child abusers, bestiality.
Mm-hmm.
This is like some sort of sick, perverted. Who are these guys? Oh, they're cops. That's right. Yeah, I keep forgetting that.
Yeah.
So when you think about bad guys, now you know who they are.
So in reading that article, definitely check it out. It's on the Free Thought Project.
If you could stomach it.
Yeah,
it
if
makes
you can
me
stomach
sick.
it. Yeah, because there's 3 other cops that they bring up. three other stories just to let you know that this isn't just a rare occasion. I mean, there's three other stories that they've covered. One was Robert Melia Jr. He raped a teen and a cow. Yeah, so then the other guy, Darren Tomlinson, it was kids and animals. Then the other guy, Andrew Sestacia Jr., was a dog, and he had a bunch of child porn. So these aren't isolated incidences. As you can see, it's 11 in 3 weeks that we're going to cover here real quick. I mean, that's...
Yeah, we don't know the actual age of the cow, so the cow could be underage too.
Yep. When that officer pulls you over to write you that ticket, look at his face, because you know he's probably doing other shit on the side. You might be looking into the eyes of another pedophile cop or some cop that's fucking animals.
Number 4, this guy. That's Jared Elkins. He's 33 with Yuma PD in San Diego. He was found guilty of forcible rape and 2 counts of forcible oral copulation and sexual penetration by use of force. This was stemming from a rape that happened back on September 14th, 2017. But he was on paid leave the entire time.
Collecting his salary and binge watching Netflix.
Yeah. Just crazy, man. When I'm reading these articles, it's just, like you said, if you can stomach it, right? And it's just one after another. They're just people that get caught, see no jail time, get sweetheart deals, and go work for another police department. It's fucking disgusting.
And go continue to abuse again because there's no penalty.
Exactly. No accountability.
So,
Number 5. Look at him. He just looks like a fucking weirdo. Yeah. This is Ian Nowd. He raped a 13-year-old girl 3 days after investigating a domestic incident at her home. So he went there as a cop, investigating a domestic, and ends up going back 3 days later and raping the little girl in the home. He filmed it and said it was consensual because she seemed to be enjoying it. That was a quote from him.
yeah, like any other true predator. And they also, they have access to all records. They know their victims are at-risk victims. So, they pick and choose the most vulnerable of the people. And, these are the true monsters. These are the true monsters. It's these pigs out there that are doing this.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things that you notice about people who are victims of that sort of crime is they're often multiple times victims. And the reason for that is because the people that commit those type of crimes are good at picking out people who are vulnerable to it. So that's why when you have the police out there and they're investigating people or responding to calls of that nature, and then, when you have, which is not an unusual thing, domestic violence cases, and then they rape or somehow abuse the victim, it's because they're looking for that victim.
Yep.
Because that's the type of behavior they know they can take advantage of.
Predators, for real. Yeah.
And that's why it's even more important to hold the police accountable, because they are in those sort of positions.
So when they see officer after officer getting away with it, it starts to draw these types of personalities to the profession, right? Then these sick fucks know, well, if I have a badge on, I'm going to get away with it.
Well, a good comparison is the Catholic Church and the priests.
Yep.
Once they know that they can get away with it and it's a safe haven for predatory behavior, then, of course, they're all going to start going there, and they're going to start teaming up. So,
take another look at this guy. It's number 5. His name's Ian Nowd. The worst thing, well, I don't know, another terrible aspect of this, when reading the article, I saw it. He was hired despite being under investigation for rape by 2 other departments, and one was a neighboring police force.
right.
So they knew,
Well, that's
or failed to look into.
Because there was nobody else in the world that could have hired that wasn't under investigation for rape.
But this goes back to, they get a group together and they support each other like any other group. And you have groups of predators, man, that take care of one another and make sure that they get through.
It just shows that negligence or that whether it was intentional.
I believe it was intentional. I mean, he's becoming a police officer. He has 2 other, cases going on, and that doesn't give somebody pause to say.
Well, the sheriff in Laramie who hired Derek Colling after he killed 2 people and got fired for being caught on video beating somebody, got fired for excessive force, has said he has no regrets about hiring Derek Colling.
Right.
And he recently killed his 3rd person.
It's crazy. So this guy, and then it gets worse with this duty. And now, so not only was it preventable had they not hired him in the first place, since he was under investigation for rape, but he was tipped off. I guess he found out that he was going to be arrested because the Cheshire police made an administrative error and included him in an email detailing his upcoming arrest. So they sent him an email like, look, bro, we're coming for you. Get rid of your shit. You know what I mean? So he deleted 700.
Accidentally sent it to him.
Yes, it was an error. It wasn't. It wasn't. The thin blue line covering for each other. So they tipped him off. So he deleted like 750 images from his phone, hit another phone and a laptop to try to cover his tracks.
And we don't know how many victims now will not be able to be identified.
He deleted 750.
Some images were as young as 18 months. This was a real sick dude. He was.
He is a pig and a cop, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Not surprised.
Look at him, number 5. There he is.
Yeah. And we had a case here in Vegas, last year, just about this time last year, where it was one of the cops that ended up in the armed standoff, and he was one of the cops that was in the hallway when they were waiting around for the shooting to stop after the Route 91 shooting.
Yep.
So it got a pretty good amount of coverage because of that tie-in. But that's what they told him, that he was being investigated, and put him on suspension. And he went and talked to his buddies who were still on the job and got them to try to track down his victim so that he could intimidate her into not testifying.
Yeah, Kelly wrote about that on Nevada Cop Block. Check it out, mvcopblock.org, for the details. But yeah, it's just another example of brothers in blue looking out for each other, even the sexual predators amongst their ranks.
Right. So. They have no shame. There's nothing low enough that they won't protect their brothers for.
Yeah. So the last guy on here, number 6, is Stephen Powers, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. He was a parole and probation officer, arrested on 10 counts of sex crimes against inmates and coworkers. Female on probation submitted to the sex acts because she was worried if she didn't, he would revoke her probation.
Yep.
So
absolutely,
that's a predator looking for the best prey. It's somebody who has a criminal record. They might not believe her if she speaks up. Also, he's got leverage over her, like, you better do it or I'm going to throw you into a cage, right?
Or something worse. Plenty of prisoners die in jail.
Oh, yeah.
There's plenty of prisoners that die in jail. So, and it's at the hands of the workers. Or they said, make deals with other inmates to eliminate problems.
Well, they hang themselves and the cameras just happen not to be working that day.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So
it wasn't just people on parole or probation. It was also coworkers, because he was, I guess, sent numerous dick pics to his coworkers. Yeah.
Well, maybe he didn't know it was wrong to send dick pics.
I'm sure his excuse is he didn't realize that was not something everybody does.
Right. I've heard that excuse before, and people believe it.
Yep.
There he
People
is,
want to
number
believe
6.
it is the thing.
Yep.
Stephen Powers. All right, these are the last few of the pedo pigs. Number 7 is Jorge Serrano, 28, Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. That's in Washington County, Oregon. First-degree rape and 3 counts of first-degree sodomy. This happened back in the spring of 2015. He was working as an armed security guard. And in from July 17 to November 18th, he was a corrections officer. So he wasn't doing armed security anymore. He was hired by the Department of Corrections to work at the jail. And that's supposedly when he uploaded the video of the rape and the sodomy that he was charged with. Additional charges are possible as there are likely more victims. Investigators are working to ID the other women in the other videos and images that he uploaded while he was a corrections officer.
And that tells you something, because he's part of the police force, so he knows how investigations go, and he knows how dangerous it is to upload video in terms of getting caught.
And he felt so
Yeah, he's so bold and wanted to show off so much, and
felt comfortable doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
That he went right into the police station and uploaded it. I mean, that just tells you, and that tells you the comfort level they have that they won't get prosecuted because it happens so
Brazenly,
rarely.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe he was looking, for a vacation, paid vacation for a while.
Well, he got
Yeah.
it for a little bit. Yeah.
Yep.
The next guy.
And he'll be back to security again anyway. So
Yep.
Yeah. Number 8 is Thomas Myers, 29, Nashville juvenile probation officer. I think we might have talked about this in a past episode, but there's updates. He gave a 16-year-old victim a choice: oral sex or masturbate, in front of him. He went to the teen's house to discuss a possible positive drug test. Possible positive, because it turns out there was no evidence of him even failing a drug test. But he went to the kid's house. The boy came out, got into the passenger seat of Myers' car, where he threatened the boy with consequences for the failed drug test and gave him the 2 options.
yeah, which is also another example that most of the crimes committed by the drug, with the drug war, most of the negative consequences of the drug war are from the police.
Mm-hmm.
They break into people's houses and murder them and all that.
Raid the
Because
wrong
somebody
homes.
smoked a joint.
Yeah.
And they
And,
use it. They
yeah.
use it to blackmail people into sexual
Children.
crimes.
He blackmailed children. We're talking about children.
Yeah.
You
So I
know-
guess he had the 2 options, oral sex and masturbate. He's like, well, shit, I'm not going to go to jail, so I'll go with masturbate. And when he was masturbating in front of Thomas reached over and grabbed the boy's penis, and that's where he freaked out, got out of the car. This dude, Thomas Myers, again, here he is. Number 6. Wait. No, it's
Number 8.
this one, number 8. He's out on bail, and police are urging any other victims to please come forward. Again, this is Thomas Myers, Nashville juvenile probation officer, so in Nashville, Tennessee. So if you know of anybody in Nashville, Tennessee,
Right.
might
Most
have
of these,
some information.
most of these guys don't get caught on their first offense. So you know that all these guys have multiple victims.
Oh, yeah.
There's a better chance than not that there's multiple victims out there for each one of these assholes.
It's like they say with DUIs, right? By the time you get a DUI, you've probably driven drunk at least 100 times before you get caught.
Right.
It's rare that you get caught on the first time you drink and drive, right?
Exactly.
So who knows how many victims this dude has. But hopefully people aren't intimidated and to not come forward, and hopefully the Brothers in Blue don't
The
help
Brothers in Blue
locate
will
the
protect them.
victims, yeah, and then threaten them not to come forward, that type of deal. 'cause we've
Absolutely.
seen
That's
that
what they will
happen.
do. We see it all the time.
Yeah. The next one, number 9, he looks like a weirdo too. Michael Lindsay. This is Nakoma Park Police Department. I guess he worked for Forest Park Police. Charged with 1 count of child abuse, and now he's facing 13 additional counts. He allegedly abused 3 boys in 3 states: Illinois, Tennessee, and Oklahoma. And the worst part, it was a family friend. He was a family friend of the children's parents. So if you got a cop friend, don't let him around your kids.
Yeah. Friends don't let friends become cops.
Yeah, first
Yeah.
of all. The youngest was 11 years old. That's Michael Lindsay, number 9. Number 10 is Randall Sean Butler, 37, Lakewood Police Department. That's in Denver, Colorado. He was charged with 2 counts of sexual assault. Again, number 10, take a good look at him. Randall Sean Butler. A woman was stranded, needed a ride home. He pulled into an empty parking lot. First he picked her up like, hey, look, I'm a nice guy. I'll give you a ride home. I'm a cop. You can trust me. Pulls into an empty parking lot where he raped her over the back seat of the patrol car. After he sped off, she ran down the alley to a 7-Eleven, called her mom, and told her she was raped by a cop. So mom was like, well, we got to get you to the hospital. They went to a hospital where a nurse made her feel, quote, like pure trash, and then said she needed to call the police and be transferred to another hospital for an exam. She just described in the interview being terrified and heartbroken. So she gave up. She left the hospital. She didn't want to call the police. She didn't want to go.
No, why would you fuck it? The cops just raped you. Why the fuck would you go to the police?
And the nurse is like, yeah, we need to call the cops.
Especially in like small places, you know.
Mm-hmm.
All the cops know each other. You know they're going to cover for each other.
Yeah. So what she did, she was smart. She just left the hospital, and then the next day she filed a report through DPD's website, Denver Police Department's website. They got some website where she reported it online, and again, probably the same instance where there's more victims out there. Hopefully they come forward after this story went viral. The last one, number 11, this is veteran Sheriff's Deputy Luke Hatzapetros. He's 43 from Cook County Sheriff's Office. He was charged with sexually assaulting 2 children, including his girlfriend's 14-year-old daughter. That's why you don't date cops.
Yeah.
Especially if you have kids. Not only because they'll beat you or probably beat your kids, but
over 40% higher
kids.
rate of fucking domestic abuse, and when there's a cop in your family.
Reported rate because they protect each other, so
That's
it's not even.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
most-
much higher than that.
yeah, most don't feel comfortable coming forward because they're cops.
No, and because their other cops will fucking cover for their brothers in blue, and that thin blue line may stretch, but it never breaks, folks.
Exactly. So this is he's 43 years old, Cook County Sheriff's Office. He's been stripped of his law enforcement powers, but remains on the payroll.
There we go. That will teach him. You sit home and get paid and watch TV.
And that's another one of the tricks the cops do, because that cop that was in that viral video up in Michigan where he got arrested and he was like telling them, just let me go. They kicked him off the force, but they hired him in a different position within the police force. So he's not a cop anymore, but he's still making this, he's still getting paid as a cop or through the police department.
And the union.
Remains on the payroll.
So they'll do whatever they can. If they can't keep him on as a cop, they'll find some other job to put him in as,
Yeah.
And that's part of the thing, like you mentioned, what the one guy looks like. And that's, when you look at their mug shots, you would think these guys are, they're cops and they're, supposedly these upstanding citizens. But, like, look at them. They look like mobsters. Like if you took 12 random mob pictures and you just mixed them up and you didn't know which was which and you had to pick out which was in the mob and which was the cop, you'd have a hard time on most of these guys.
Yeah. So that's it for the pedophile pigs, but we've got some bastards here, corrupt cops. The first one is Curtis Williams from Meridosia, Illinois. He was the chief of police. He pushed a woman down on a bed, pointed a gun at the back of her head, and threatened to shoot her. For all of this, he was only charged with 2 misdemeanors, domestic battery, and aggravated assault. $5,000 bail. His arraignment's in a couple weeks. Number 1. Take a look at him, Curtis Williams. Next, number 2, we got Deputy Zach Wester. This guy's a real piece of work. I don't have the body cam footage of this, but he's facing more than a dozen lawsuits for planting meth. And in one of the body cams, you can clearly see he had something in his hand and planted it on this woman. He targeted poor people because, well, look at him. The car's all beat up. He's got to be a tweaker, right?
And they also know you can't afford a lawyer.
Yeah, they don't have the resources to fight back. So
Right.
They don't target rich people because rich people go out and hire an expensive lawyer.
Yep.
Exactly. Like a true predator looking for the best prey.
Most of those poor people they prey on are just going to take a plea deal and be done with it.
And most did, and some were in jail, a lot of them on probation.
Yeah.
Turned out over 100 charges, convictions, charges were dropped, convictions overturned, and sentences had to be vacated because this guy was involved in all of them. So now his credibility's shot. Who knows how many other people were innocent. So
Probably all of them.
yeah,
I mean, he targeted poor people. He wasn't targeting criminals.
Mm-hmm.
So
And the worst part is this all came to light when Christina Pumphrey, she was a whistleblower. She went to the state attorney general, Glenn Hess, and she had to file whistleblower status because Hess tried to initiate a cover-up for Wester. She said she was ostracized and ignored, and he didn't want this to go public, basically. And yeah, so there's a lot of these people lawyered up and are going to sue the police department.
justifiably, I mean.
Yeah. I mean, one woman, this is how bad it was. Laura Marie Penn had to post bail. As a result, she couldn't pay for her mother's doctor's visit, where she would have gotten blood work done to determine that she had West Nile virus, but she couldn't afford to do it. So her mother died of West Nile virus because some fucking pig planted drugs on her. Just unbelievable. So her lawyer took out a billboard in this town right above the donut shop where all the cops hang out. I thought that was pretty fucking cool. Yeah, so just crazy stories, man.
You know, it's once and again another example of the war on drugs being the only, you know, or not the only, but the most problems from drugs. Is that some cop might knock on your door and murder you potentially, but also, you know, even if you actually believe in that nonsense and you want people to get arrested for drugs, like out of those hundreds of cases that are getting thrown out, I'm sure some of those people did actually do drugs and commit crimes in order to get those drugs, and now he's fucked all that up, and now they're not going to get prosecuted, or they're going to get set free because of it, because, you know, he's trying to fill a quota by, you know, stashing drugs in people's cars.
Yeah.
So even if you believe in, you know, the nonsense of the drug war, like
Right, he fucks that aspect up too from the other side.
Mm-hmm. Gotta end the drug war, folks. So the next bastard we got here, number 3. It's the guy on the right. So I chose this picture. That's him with his state representative at the DARE program.
Yeah, they teach your kids to be narcs
Yeah.
and fucking rat their parents out.
That's Scott Stevenson, Midland County, Michigan sheriff. He was the sheriff. DUI. He got a DUI. A motorist called 911 thinking someone had a medical emergency behind the wheel, because this sheriff was pulled over, looked like he was dead, passed out in the car. Cops showed up. Turned out this guy was a sheriff, and he was shit-faced behind the wheel. This is the one you were
also
talking
in
about.
Michigan. No, this is the other one was an earlier one, but this is another one from Michigan.
Yeah. This guy's actually the sheriff.
Got some police force up there in Michigan.
Hell yeah.
So look at this fucking hypocrite. Look at him with his DARE t-shirt. Don't do drugs, and here he is, a fucking alcoholic.
This guy's almost better because he was actually the sheriff.
Yeah.
The other guy was just a deputy.
Yeah. He blew a .23. Like, that's super drunk.
And that was after his nap.
Yeah.
So imagine what he was before that.
And he was hunting. He told the cops, like, I was hunting with my buddies. That's why I'm wasted. Oh, so you were running around the woods with a fucking firearm, getting shit-faced with your buddies.
Yeah, that's how you get all those stories about people getting shot, because people think they're a deer.
Yeah.
You know, the guy's fucking drunk.
And seeing double and shit.
Yeah, I guess in Michigan they have a super drunk level. That's .17.
Yeah.
His was .23, so crazy. He was arrested, pleaded guilty, but he only got 1 year probation, no jail time, and he won't resign. He's still the fucking sheriff.
There we go. So if you want to drink and drive and hunt drunk,
And then
you have
know,
to
the
go to
cops'
his
average
township.
salaries are like $100,000, so he was probably making $500,000 being the sheriff.
So yeah, that's where you want to move to if you like to drink and drive.
He can't afford a hotel room where he was fucking hunting. You know, he had to fucking drive home drunk.
Yeah.
Or a fucking cab or Uber or whatever the fuck.
The other guy here, number 4, this is Jason Rodriguez, Milwaukee police detective.
Mm-hmm.
Take a good look at him. Yep, Jason Rodriguez, out of Milwaukee, arrested for grabbing, punching, and stomping his girlfriend. That's why we say don't date cops.
Yep.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, the reported rate is between 2 and 4 times the rate general population of
Yep.
police that abuse either their wife or their children.
And then this guy, it's another instance of it could have been prevented because he had a long criminal history as an officer. So they had multiple chances to fire this dude. He got 2 DUIs on the job. Not
but
on
that
the
thin,
job, but
the
while he
thin
was
blue
in college.
line is not going to
Yeah.
allow that.
Exactly.
And you understand that? I mean, what was his girlfriend or his partner? You can't call in because when you call in to report this, you're going to be calling into one of his buddies.
Yeah, when you call in, one of
And
his friends
when
shows
his-
up
Yep.
and helps beat you.
Exactly.
You know?
It's
Or
just crazy.
Yeah, they cover it up. That's why it's 2 to 4% reported,
Mm-hmm.
and that's part of the reason why it's 2 to 4% because they can't really nail it down because they fucking cover it up. So they don't have a hard number, but it's probably fucking 6
Much higher.
times because
I'd believe it. So one of those DUIs, he lied to cover it up. So he also got charged with obstructing because he said his Jeep was stolen. He didn't get into an accident when he was drunk. It was stolen. That's why it's like that.
and they never hear that at the police station.
Right.
It's not the most obvious excuse, and they don't usually just arrest people when they hear that.
No,
Right.
he probably hears it all the time when he arrests people for drunk driving. And that's where he got the idea from. So guess what happened? He received a reduced 40-day suspension for the DUIs. So basically no penalty. So he's like, well, why do I need to change my criminal ways? And if they had fired him, maybe his girlfriend would have left him. You know what I mean? They could have saved her. Instead, he's still working. She stays with him, and bam,
Getting beat up.
getting beat up. Let's see the next guy here. Number 5. Look at him. Classy dude, right?
Nice suit.
Nice suit. You know why he's got a nice suit? Because he stole $1.5 million
buys
in
them all
federal
nice suits.
funds. Buys you a whole lot of nice suits.
Hell yeah.
His name is Todd Entrikin. Alabama sheriff pocketed $1.5 million in federal funds meant to feed inmates. He admitted to keeping $750,000 over a 2-year period and buying a $740,000 beach house, while inmates would eat rotten and expired food, even food that was recovered from a train wreck. He's like, well, shit, we'll get it at a discount rate,
Hell
serve
yeah.
it up,
Right.
throw it on the plate.
Yeah.
It's just
It's
fucked
that
up.
roadkill out there.
Man.
Just fucking.
When I was a kid, there used to be a show called Sheriff Lobo. You guys remember that show? About a corrupt, small town sheriff. And it was like the funniest fucking thing because, he was so corrupt and all the shit. And then when you grow up and you realize, geez, there's fucking Sheriff Lobos all
That's
over.
based on actual
And they're
events.
real. You're like, what the fuck is going on in this world?
It's actually the first reality TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it turned out to be way more than he originally admitted. He admitted to $750,000, but turns out he legally stole way more than that. From 2011 to 2014, there was $3 million split between him and the county commissioners. $1.5 million for him, $1.5 million to the commission, all done legally under a Depression-era state law.
Yeah.
He was taking in far more off of his food operation than his $93,000 annual salary.
Well, and what that law was is basically he had a budget, and whatever he didn't spend, he kept.
Right.
So he
That,
would
and
go
that's
out-
still standard.
Yeah, so
that's
he'd
still
go out
standard.
and find whatever cheap, shitty food he could find at the side of a train track and fucking give it to the people, and then put that in his pocket.
Yeah, but it's federal money, federal funds that he's getting to feed inmates. He's like, oh, well, all this is left over. I can legally keep it. No, if the federal government gives you money for a purpose and you don't use it for that purpose, then you fucking give it back to the federal government so that they can, or you fucking let people eat better. Don't be trying to give them fucking hot dogs every day of the week
The
so that
law
you can
allows
buy a
them.
beach house.
The law allows
Well,
them
that's the
to
problem when
keep
you
the
create-
surplus. So it's the incentive, right?
Right.
Yeah.
If you create that law, then what you do is you incentivize him to go out and
Exactly.
find the cheapest shit he can find and give it to the
Right. So he can make an extra
put it in his
buck.
pocket.
Yeah.
And, you know, once again, there's a tie-in to Vegas because Henderson, they had the constable just got fired because he was taking money that was supposed to be paying, you know, the deputy constables under him and just spending it on, like, gambling and fucking buying shit. And they actually caught him once and they eliminated the fund that it was at, and he just set up, like, his own personal bank account for it to go into.
Yep, this dude right here. Look at him.
Right there.
He's like, why are you, look at his face. He's like, why are you talking about this, Kelly?
and
Shut up.
Right. And the fucking constable in Las Vegas, they had to eliminate the whole office because they were so corrupt.
Yeah.
You know, and like we don't even have constables in Las Vegas anymore because of that.
Yeah. Because the way it's set up, you incentivize them. There's no accountability. They can legally steal this money. It's crazy. The last guy here, just an update because I remember we talked about this, I don't know, a long time ago, but this is Chase Bishop. He was the dancing. Is my mic cutting out for you guys, or is that just my headphones?
A little bit.
All right, I might have to switch my mic up, but this was the dancing FBI agent who accidentally shot someone. You guys remember that? He did a backflip on the dance floor and his gun fell out and shot somebody.
Yep.
So, surprise, surprise,
So
he will
got charged
see
with
no
simple-
jail time.
Yeah, simple assault or something.
Yeah, and you'll be able to see him on Dancing with the Stars
Right?
in an upcoming episode.
Yes, he'll be shooting people daily.
Unbelievable. So he got, no jail time, got off with probation for 2 years probation. FBI spokesperson declined to answer if he would continue to work at the FBI.
Which means he will.
Exactly.
Right.
That's exactly what it means, yeah.
He'll be back out there dancing again.
Well, in his defense, I mean, did you see his moves? I mean, you know, he might be on the FBI dance team, and they really can't afford to lose. You know, that member.
I mean, if he wasn't going to work there anymore, they would be like, we got rid of him. Don't worry. We got rid of this fucking idiot. But they're like, well, we can't comment on that. Yeah, you can't comment because you're not going to get rid of them, you fucking idiots. Anyways, the worst part about this story is the dude that got shot. So he lost his job at an Amazon warehouse as a result of this. He has chronic pain. Amazon, of course, didn't give a fuck.
Nope.
Like, well,
Yeah.
you can't get those packages in those
Yeah, they
bins
fired
fast
him.
enough. You're
Yeah.
fucking out of here. And then he's worried he'll never be able to run again. That was one of his passions. And a quote from him here is, "I've done months of physical therapy. I've sought counseling. However, being in public, especially seeing law enforcement with guns, makes me very uncomfortable."
Holy
sure
shit,
he
no
is.
kidding,
Right?
man.
He hasn't been back to a dance club in a while. He had to-
I don't dance anymore. He's taken that from me.
And so that's
Fuck.
the thing. That guy
It's
got
fun.
fired from Amazon.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
lost his
The
job.
And
cop
you
is still
fucking-
working at the FBI.
And suffering from, you know, some
Exactly.
sort of post-traumatic stress from the fucking issue,
Yeah.
which they don't
Yeah.
take care of.
Yeah, he probably gets a panic attack every time he sees a fucking cop.
I get a fucking panic attack, and you know the shit they did to me wasn't even
Right?
close to
They
getting.
didn't even shoot you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not yet.
So, what the fuck?
Fucking
Man?
cross your fingers, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just.
The day is still young.
All right, so that's a long list of articles that we had compiled over the last 3 weeks. But
Fucking
If you feel like
Unbelievable.
police officers
was a
and
good one
deputies
here.
made headlines for this year for all the wrong reasons, you're not wrong. Dozens of law enforcement officials were arrested and criminally charged in 2018, and we've kept track. We first took a look back at these arrests on KSAT News at 9, a new newscast that you can watch on KSAT.com or through the KSAT app on any way that you stream TV. Dylan Collier with some of the most notable
our
law
local
enforcement
police,
arrests.
do something like this?
There were 30 men and women combined from the San Antonio
Because
Police
they're
Department
media.
and Bexar County Sheriff's Office
'Cause their
who
job is
found themselves
PR
on the
department
wrong
for the
side
police
of the law
department.
this year.
That's what it
From
is.
DWIs to family violence and official oppression. Here are how the charges break down. 7 SAPD officers have been arrested since the beginning of the year. That's the same number of officers charged in 2017. Here are some of the arrests that made the biggest headlines this year. In October, one SAPD detective accused of botching dozens of sex assault cases was charged with tampering with evidence. Kenneth Valdez was fired in 2017 after an internal affairs investigation determined that he failed to follow up on evidence and close cases without fully investigating them. Officer Gary Tooley was indicted in late October and charged with official oppression and giving a false report to a peace officer. He's accused of repeatedly punching a 14-year-old girl. 23 Bexar County deputies have found themselves on the wrong side of the law this year. Jose Nunez was charged with sexual assault of a child. He was put in the Karnes County Jail in June, where he later died from an apparent suicide.
Thank God.
3 deputies have been charged with official oppression this year.
Justified
In April,
killing.
Joseph Anthony Hernandez and Michael Gomez were indicted on official oppression charges. They're accused of hitting an inmate and then retaliating against other deputies who reported the alleged attack. In September, another deputy, Tavion Gleckler, was charged with official oppression and assault. The detention deputy was accused of taking off his uniform and challenging an inmate to a fight. 2 other Bexar County detention officers, Gabriel Ortiz and Ruben
I'm not
Hernandez,
against that.
were
Like, if
arrested
they
in
actually
July
just let
on
them
federal
fight,
charges. They
but you
brought
know if
meth
the other
into
guy
the
won,
jail.
he's gonna
Ortiz pleaded
have every
guilty
cop
to
in
his
there
role
fucking
last
with him.
month. He faces up to 20 years in prison at his sentencing in February.
As long as
Hernandez
it's a
is
fair
scheduled
fight,
to
they
go
both
on
want to
trial in January. That's a total of 23 deputies arrested this year compared to 10 arrested in 2017. Sheriff Javier Salazar says since 2009, deputy arrests have been in the double digits every single year, and that this year's number was so high in part because of a proactive approach on the part of the sheriff's office.
And that's just 1 year at one department, or I guess it's 2 departments because they included the county, but you know, that's one city.
Yeah, that's two
Yeah.
two departments. And he's like, it's because we're doing a good job,
Yeah.
not because we're out there doing a bad job.
They're being proactive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that we're hiring pieces
We're on top
of
of
shit.
this.
Yeah, don't
You know,
worry,
we
we're getting
should-
them.
Yeah.
We should pull up the statistics in Florida, man. Because I didn't even see Florida mentioned once, but I know all year long I read at least
Stories,
twice
the
a day
craziest stories, yeah.
about the police in Florida. Twice a day, something will come up.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. All right, let's switch gears here to some local stories. There's no shortage of those either, folks. Right here. Miley. You guys might remember, if you're not from Vegas, hearing about Judge Miley from the 1 October shooting. I mean, I thought she did a great job. She was like, you know, the LVMPD was trying to, you know, beat around the bush and not be transparent. Big surprise, I know, but didn't want to release the records and all the stuff regarding the shooting. And she was like, no, this is bullshit. You need to release it. And then Metro took it all the way to the Supreme Court. Well, here she is. She was arrested for, what was it? Beating
Domestic
her-
violence.
Domestic
Yeah.
violence.
Beat up her son, I think.
She was riding with her son, according to the story I read. She was driving with her son, and he ran a yellow light, and she started like yelling at him, and he yelled back at her, and then she like smacked him in the mouth and split his lip open, and was like yelling at him for.
Yeah.
He was concerned enough that he called his father
Yeah.
about the incident, is what I read.
Here's a quick clip.
Well, Judge Stephanie Miley is accused of hitting her son, and these arrest papers say she did it because he went through a yellow light.
Yeah.
This black-robed portrait symbolizes one of the most honorable positions in the court of law. Now Judge Stephanie Miley has a portrait of a different kind. Last weekend, police were called out to Malaga Peak Street near downtown Summerlin. Arrest papers say the attorney for Edward Miley called police to say Miley beat up their adult son, Jacob. Police say Jacob told them he and his mom were heading to her house on Charleston Boulevard when he went through a yellow light. According to the arrest papers, that's when Miley became very upset and the two started fighting about the way Jacob was driving. Jacob told officers during the argument he called his mom some names. That's when the affidavit says, quote, she reached over from the passenger seat and slapped Jacob in the face, causing him to get a busted lip. Arrest papers say she continued to hit him for 2 minutes, and it didn't stop there. Jacob told officers when he tried to grab his stuff from his mom's house, the two continued to argue. Jacob's father eventually picked him up.
I don't want to delay this too long.
Judge Miley has served on the bench since 2005. She hired a lawyer who told Fox 5, "We are pleased to be assisting Judge Miley, who
If you feel like police
he's looking
officers
forward
and
to that
deputies
trial.
made headlines for this year for all the wrong reasons, you're
The thing you got to remember is, I know she did, we appreciate what she did during the shooting with the police,
Right.
but that doesn't excuse this type of behavior.
Yeah.
Just because a cop, may go out and not abuse somebody in the street, but it goes
Yeah.
home and beats their children or molests children, doesn't make him a good cop. I mean,
Well, the other thing about that, and a lot of times they're not good cops either, but at the same time, like somebody can be good at their job and still be a horrible person.
right.
Yeah.
And this is one of those cases. I'm not saying, look at even a broken clock is right twice a day. So,
And
you
the
just
other
do a
thing-
couple of good things. But if you're a fucking horrible human being and an abuser, you are what you are.
But the other thing about that is like, I wonder if the cops would have covered it up for her if she hadn't fucking ruled against them.
Well, I think they tried to, because they booked her under her maiden name to try to keep it out of the media, but then it got out. I mean, you can't
Well, of course
cover
I
They're
did.
all watching each
Yeah, I
other.
actually noticed that myself, and that was my same thought because
Yeah.
the newspapers, they have people down there scouring the arrest
Mm-hmm.
records to see if anybody famous or well known in town
Yeah,
got arrested. So yeah, they tried to
Cover up.
take the heat off her by putting it on her
Definitely.
maiden name.
yeah. So I don't know. My thing is, how many people has she sentenced to jail time for this exact same charge or this exact same offense? You know what I mean? And she's gonna beat the case. She's got a good lawyer on it, and if the son doesn't show up to court, the charges get dismissed. So I wouldn't be surprised if all this goes away, despite however many people she's sent to jail for the same exact
Well,
thing.
and or my thought is, how many people didn't she send to jail because she thinks
She's
it's okay?
sympathetic. Yeah.
You have to tune your kids up sometime. That's just the way it has to be.
Yeah,
So
so
she's
you
sympathetic to abusers.
Clearly has
And
a
that
bias.
has
yeah.
something, I would think about if I, got to go before and I was a victim, knowing that she thinks it's okay.
Yeah.
To-
Well, and anytime she goes to court now, she has to recuse herself from any of those cases, or she should anyway,
Should,
because
should,
she has a
for
conflict
sure.
of interest. And the other thing about that, like when she goes on trial with this, which she probably won't, she'll probably get like one
Yeah,
of those
they'll-
sweetheart plea deals.
Yeah.
But they're gonna use the fact that she's a judge in her favor. They'll be like, look at this upstanding person,
Mhm.
So when a cop does a horrible crime, part of the thing is they'll use the fact that he's a cop to like let him off.
Right.
Yeah.
That somehow
it's
makes
the
them
same-
more noble than anyone else.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with any public official, especially a judge.
Yep.
Yeah. So the other local story here, a couple weeks ago, ex-Nevada prison guards acquitted in use of force trial. There were two guys, Paul Valdez, 36, and Jose Navarrete, 35. They badly beat inmate Ricky Norellis. I talked to somebody, a local activist out here, who actually worked at Southern Desert where this happened. During the time that this happened, she said they beat him up bad. And of course they get let go. Their defense was he turned in an aggressive manner, but then the prison cameras, surveillance video showed that they're lying, but that didn't matter in court. They still got
Right.
acquitted.
Now, this goes back to the other case where the cop was sexually abusing the inmates. If you don't go along with what the cop says, this is what can happen. And what are the consequences if you do happen to beat down that inmate? You get let
Yeah.
go. Look.
And
So-
which, on top of that, like out on the street, like if I beat down everybody that turned in an aggressive manner toward me, I'd probably be on my 40th conviction.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's not a fucking excuse because somebody gave you a dirty look.
No.
You know?
But it's a way that got them off.
Yeah.
So they're not held accountable.
So I don't know if we're going to be able to keep this to an hour show just because we've got 3 weeks worth of material to cover, but we'll try to wrap it up here shortly. The other local story was a veteran beat up at the VA medical center out here. 93 years old, cops roughed him up. From what I took away from the article is my understanding was that he was at the hospital trying to leave, and Medicoach, who was supposed to pick him up, was late, and then he waited for hours, and when they finally got there, they were there to pick up somebody else. They weren't even there to pick him up, and he's like, what the fuck? I've been waiting since however many hours. I'm diabetic. If I don't eat, I only had breakfast. Like,
Right.
I could fucking die.
He's 93 years old, man. He doesn't have a whole lot of time left to fuck around.
Yeah.
He has to do what he's got to do in the short time he has left.
Well, basically what it amounts to is he's like a dissatisfied customer, and he was
Mm-hmm.
arguing, and instead of, like de-escalating the situation and trying to, calm him down or whatever, they just beat him.
Yeah,
Yep.
cops came and fucking like hemmed him up real rough, like his wrist, grabbed his arm, and he had bruises and stuff. And this is a 93-year-old veteran at the VA hospital. It's just disgusting.
Yeah.
Disgusting. This next local story, Clark County School District police sergeant stealing a bunch of shit from the schools.
Yep.
Cameras, laptops, all kinds of electronics, which this ties into our next story of why do we have all these police
In school.
in schools in the first place, right? Well, it all started after Columbine, a mass shooting. So, with the best of intentions, the citizens
we need cops
came together
there.
and like,
Well,
we
they
need, let's
used
keep
fear.
them safe. Yeah, they did.
I don't think it was the best intentions at all.
You
I
gotta
thought
have
they saw
cops
an
there to stand out in the hallway while the kids are being shot.
And also, as they're cutting programs, they need, they're cutting programs to fund the police, to pay the police.
Right. And the other thing
So
about
the kids
that,
are getting less fucking education and making it more unsafe by having, lunatic fucking cops in those things, putting your children at risk. As have we seen before? How many children
Tasing
have we seen
kids and-
beaten down
Yeah.
by these fucks? Maybe they should throw more money into the other programs that they were cutting.
well, and that's the thing about it is they, it gets a lot of coverage, so it seems like, it's happening all the time, but school shootings are a rarity.
Absolutely. They're
Public shootings and mass shootings really are a rarity.
Mm-hmm.
And, there should be ways to, reduce them. And the thing about that, when you put the police in the schools and they're there and nothing happens 90% of the time,
Yeah, they gotta
and they're
keep themselves
sitting on their
busy.
hands, then they behave like police.
Yeah.
And the other thing about that is it encourages teachers. They don't want to deal with a kid who's being unruly, so they call in the deputy, and the deputy behaves.
overreacts and becomes
Yeah. So
violent.
they arrest a kid for farting, which actually happened.
Right.
Yeah, or beat up the autistic kid, or
Right.
we've seen it time and time
Or,
again.
or they have to handcuff a kid on his biceps because their handcuffs aren't big enough to fit on his hands.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, it's things that teachers dealt with for decades.
Without
Resorting to tasing and pepper spraying, you know what I mean? Now you got cops all over the place in schools, and that's what happens.
Maybe take some of that fucking money and teach conflict resolution in the school to the children so they can take care of their own problems
Yeah,
in
and
a
there's
nonviolent
also-
way instead of bringing violent pigs.
Yeah, and it's also like it's a little bit of anarchist philosophy, but part of the way that government increases violence is it gives people who do not have the ability or the willingness to be violent an outlet where somebody else would be violent on their behalf. So basically, when you put the deputies in the schools, teachers who normally would just let something pass, now they have a guy who'll come in and
be an enforcer.
They have their enforcer there. So they're more likely to buckle down on things that normally they wouldn't even bother with
Yeah.
because they have that steroided out freak that'll come in and yell at them.
They have
To-
the
to
fucking
me,
big
it, like-
stick to use. Yeah.
It kind of like reinforces the whole school to prison pipeline. You know what I mean? Now you've got cops in there, and a simple, pushing and shoving match that happened all the time for decades now becomes a legal issue where they're going to get a assault or battery charge, and it's in the court system, and and building records for these kids and it just gets them in the system young. So yeah, that. I thought that tied into this article here from the Free Thought Project. Everybody remembers that coward cop who stood outside of the Parkland mass shooting and didn't do anything, didn't protect the students. Well, some families sued the police, this guy in particular, and the court reinforced a ruling that has already been made.
Yep.
That officers have no legal duty to protect you. So people think, you know, they got this idea of protect and serve in their minds, but they don't have a legal duty to protect you. So why did we even put these fucking cops in schools to protect kids from mass shooters when, as you see at Parkland, they're not going to fucking protect the kids because they're fucking cowards?
Yeah, and part of the thing with that is the original ruling was that he does have an obligation, and then there was an appeals court that overturned that, and then like 3 days later, another appeals court sided with the original court. So, and that's a Supreme Court ruling, and it's you know, it's really a money issue. They want to protect the cities
lawsuits.
and the
Yeah.
department from liability and having to pay when people sue. But the Supreme Court has already ruled that the police have no obligation to protect you.
Right, which is their job. If I was a baker and I went into my fucking boss and he tells me to bake 100 loaves of bread, and I tell him, no, I'm under no obligation to make any bread,
Exactly.
I'd be fired.
This guy's, I mean, he
Especially if
was
you-
assigned to this school specifically with the task of preventing, you know, protecting these
like
kids.
any job, you're hired to do a job.
This is your domain. This is your jurisdiction, you know, and going into it, you know, people don't give a shit whether you make it home at the end of the day. It's about the kids. That's why you're there. I mean, if a shooter comes in and kills, and you kill or they kill the kids, you know what I mean? They're going to be more upset if
that
the kids
happened-
die than if the cop dies, you know? So you knew that going into this, taking that position. So if you're not ready to put your life on the line to protect kids, then don't become a cop. Don't
Well,
get
and
assigned to a school.
If that bakery put to bake and serve on the side of their fucking delivery truck, you'd think maybe they're going to bake you some bread.
Right?
Yeah,
But they have no
exactly.
obligation. No obligation.
Yeah,
Fuck them guys.
it's just unbelievable. To
You know,
me.
and they don't. I don't believe that any cop goes in thinking that they're gonna protect anybody. They see easy money. They see a way to abuse power. We see them stealing. We see them raping, molesting.
Yeah,
This
well, I
is,
think-
you know, that should be the job when they put out that fucking ad on the front of the building. They should just say it right out, man. Looking for rapists, looking for abusers,
Well, that's the
looking
thing.
for thieves.
There are a couple good apples that come in, you know, wanting to do the right thing, but they get filtered out pretty fast.
or get beaten out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I thought that was crazy. Here's another one from the Free Thought Project. 78-year-old man in a wheelchair evicted to freezing streets for treating pain with legal medical pot. So he, I think he was in like federal housing, and he had a legal weed for medicinal purposes, and they still threw him out on the streets. And this is I think he was a veteran. So, yeah, it's just crazy.
It shows you another health threat of the drug war.
Yep. And this guy's essentially 80 years old. 2 more years.
Yeah.
An 80-year-old man in a wheelchair.
Now-
It
now
poses some
homeless.
sort of threat where he couldn't stay in his house for something he's allowed to have. The police don't use... You would think that they would go in there and they would say, well, you know, it's legal, there's nothing we can do. But they don't. Once again, they're acting as enforcers of these agencies. And they're not following the laws. They're not using common sense. They're not de-escalating. They're just there to be brutal and do the most fucked up shit that they could possibly do.
Over a plant, you know? It's just crazy.
Which is legal. Legal medical pot. Wasn't even a legal issue. So, you know, this is what the cops are. There's a police war against the people. And until, these bootlickers start opening their eyes and start protecting these guys and calling for some sort of accountability, nothing is going to change. And we want things to change.
Got a pretty graphic clip here.
We got
to
a
play next.
video of some monsters coming up.
Yeah, bunch of cops. Some of our viewers may have seen this. Cops ripping a child from their mother's arms. And I mean, how many officers is it? And look at this guy. Like tug of war, dude.
And you notice they've always got one cop assigned to try and stop people from
Yep,
filming.
from filming. Yeah.
mother trying to just hold her kid. It's just unbelievable.
And this is acceptable behavior. Anybody watching this is acceptable. This is what you would consider a good thing, all you bootlickers out there.
This is like straight out of the Nazi textbook. Like,
Yeah,
no,
I've seen
women over here, children over here.
I've seen film, black and white film of the Nazis doing this to their Jewish victims in the ghettos, and now right here, there's
Disgusting. This is
really
New
no
York.
big difference here, folks. Once you realize that these are really pigs and they don't have your best interest at heart, it's fucking unbelievable. It's horrific.
Yeah, I can't watch any more of that. That shit's just so disgusting. When I shared this, when I first saw it, it went viral. But when I shared it on my timeline, the bootlickers that came out in support of it, I was like, oh my God, how can you defend that? Like, oh, well, you don't know.
If that baby would have just complied.
Right. There's nothing to see. You had an unarmed woman and a baby.
Yeah.
An unarmed woman and a baby.
And the whole reason why the cops showed up in the first place is because they are initially already there. This
Right.
woman was there to get services. Kind of, I don't know if it was like WIC, like we have out here, like welfare services to help with
social
the
services.
kids. Yeah, social services. And
Police
it
are on
was so-
premises.
yeah.
Always.
And it was so packed that she had to sit on the floor. And the cop gave her shit for sitting on the floor. And I'm sure she had a long day. She's there to get help. You know what I mean? And
Right, if
and
you
she's
don't,
like, just
drive.
Who knows what she said? I didn't see the beginning of the video, but
What could she
I'd
have
tell the cop to shut the fuck up. Like, leave me alone. I'm here to get services, dude. Just leave me the fuck alone. You know what I mean? And who knows what happened? And the cop calls for backup. Things escalate. Instead of de-escalating, instead of just letting this woman just be. You know
Right.
what
If
I
you
mean?
would have let us in on the floor, what's the worst that could have happened?
So then cops come and try to arrest her, so they got to take her kid from her, and it's just disgusting, dude. I'm just so ashamed of just my country when I see some shit like that. Just it's so gross. And then to have bootlickers that are my friends on Facebook like come out and defend it, and then when I talk shit like, how can you defend this, they like unfriend me. It's like,
Good.
what the fuck?
This is one
Yeah,
of the best
I don't
things.
need
Fuck them.
you anyways, but at the same time it's like, wow, like fuck, dude.
There-
sad state of
There are
affairs.
truly evil people out there that, they're fascists.
Yeah.
And they like that authoritarian type of, until it happens to them. As long as it happens to somebody else, it's cool. Well, wait till it happens to them. They're the first ones to start crying
Yeah.
and coming through. And I've seen that before, too.
That's the thing.
Nobody
they have
gives
no
a fuck.
empathy. Yeah.
They don't give a fuck about police brutality. They don't give a fuck about anything that's going on until it affects them or their family. Then all of a sudden, the light bulb goes on for them.
Yeah.
And then it's too late. You could have made a stand earlier. Maybe things would have been different if, you didn't hold those beliefs.
Yeah.
But now it's too late because now you're in the thick of it with everybody else.
Yeah. That's why you gotta have empathy. You gotta try to put yourself in other people's shoes.
Exactly.
And just imagine. Oh fuck, it's crazy. But there's just so much other stuff that's happened in the last 3 weeks. There were the 2 migrant deaths that happened in Border Patrol's custody. I don't know if you guys want to
Right.
get into
Those are
that.
more
Yeah.
law officers or agents of the state contributing to the deaths of innocents, which we talk about all the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are just some of the stories we covered, as you can see, over the last 3 weeks. We covered most of these, but
Yeah, there's only so much time in the day, though.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we could do this 24/7.
inmate dined in South Carolina prison cells after toilet spewed raw sewage. So it's these
There's
toilets
a
are
lot-
overflowing, and they're still serving the inmates.
Yeah,
Right,
in
there's
their
a
that
lot of
cells.
sheriff in
stories you can
Alabama
see.
would have took some money out for that.
Yeah.
He'd have got some extra money.
We could do a whole show just on the prison system and the lack of services, the lack of care, the lack of provisions that they give to prisoners.
Absolutely.
As well as solitary confinement being a form of torture. things.
Here's a pregnant woman who complained of stomach pains, dies in Mississippi jail.
Yeah. There's stories like this every week.
The DoubleTree you were talking about.
Well, there they are.
Kind of ties into that CNN article we covered.
Yeah, supposedly they fired 2 people. Of course, they had to do something because people were becoming aware of it. And they're going to do some sensitivity training, I believe, was part of it.
You shared this one, Kelly, on Cop Block.
Yeah.
New Jersey police had no clue how many people they were beating until now.
Yeah. They know now. They still don't give a fuck, but they know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That was crazy. That's the cop that we were telling you guys about. Go to Nevada
That's a
Cop
pretty
Block's,
good video, too, but the other one's better.
Go to Nevada Cop Block's Facebook page, definitely, and watch that video. Dude was shit-faced. We didn't cover this either. This is also on Nevada Cop Block's page. Body camera of them killing another family's dog. I mean, if you can stomach it once again.
And part of the thing about that video that I like with that cop getting arrested is, like, he's showing them his badge, and he's like, surprised that they're not like, oh, okay, you can go. Yeah, that's what usually happens.
Listen, that's right. It's not like they don't let them go driving drunk and just be like, and cover it up.
Mm-hmm.
So
he's like, can't you read my get out of jail free card? Yeah. More articles from the Free Thought Project. Well, just head over there.
And the other thing is her reaction, because she's like, well, I've already called it in. So, like, if she hadn't called it in, if there wasn't a record of it, she might have let him go.
Exactly. Yeah. She didn't realize.
And she says that in the video. Definitely go watch it. Because a citizen filmed it, cop found guilty for punting handcuffed teen's head like a football. So, film the police. You could literally
save a life.
Save a life, or
save your own life.
Get a cop, his comeuppance. That was a crazy story. Man says he found gun that led Chicago cops to train tracks.
Well,
we couldn't even get into this. This was
the thing about that one with the gun is, without that spot shotter thing, nobody reported the gunshots.
Right.
So there would have been no response. Those cops wouldn't have got killed if they hadn't had that spot shotter shit out there.
Yeah.
So they got hit by a train because they were looking the other direction. Their train, I guess there was 2 trains coming, and they thought there was only one.
Oh well. Yeah.
Centoya Brown. If anybody deserves clemency, I'd say she's the perfect candidate. She's been a model inmate, helping others to reform their ways as well. And just, if you don't know her story, fucking, you got a computer in your hand, like, look into it, do a search of Centoya Brown and read up on it. She was being sex trafficked and by a guy named Cutthroat, and one of the guys who was buying her for the night got violent, and she ended up killing him. She got sentenced to, I forget how long, fucking a lifetime, basically. Yep. She's already done over a decade.
51 years before she's even eligible for parole.
For killing somebody
that self-defense sounds like in the first place.
Yeah.
Right.
And, like, the governor in, where is it at? Was this Georgia? Somewhere down south. The governor is on his way out. Like, he could definitely grant her clemency. And just to let, sex traffickers know it's open season. Like, look, if somebody kills somebody who's trying to purchase,
you're a slave.
Sex.
You're a sex slave. That's the thing. Yeah. People, it's not sex. It's you're a sex slave. You have no fucking choice. Mm-hmm. In this, if you run, you die. If they catch you, and you're at the whim of anybody who fucking purchases you from that pimp.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and he didn't grant her clemency either. So that was fucked up. We covered all this stuff. We've got a lot of cool, well, not cool, fucked up videos. But when I saw them, I was like, damn, I definitely got to share this shit. Some videos from the Yellow Vest movement going on in France. It's been 7 weeks now, and every week it's just crazy police brutality, but just immense solidarity going on between the Yellow Vest, and it's a beautiful thing seeing people come together like that. You know what I mean? Like, we're so divided in the U.S. that people can't really.
And we're so
come together.
apathetic. I don't even
Very
think we're.
apathetic,
We
yeah.
don't give a fuck. Whatever happens, happens. We would never raise our voice or step outside.
Well, I've seen the yellow vest thing picking up. I was at a construction site the other day, and all those guys were revolting. And
I saw a couple of school crossing guards.
Yeah. She had a
showing
sign that said
solidarity.
"Stop."
Yeah.
And I don't know what she was protesting, but she wanted it to fucking stop. You know, she had
Yeah.
a
Just shout out
So
the
it's
window like
solidarity.
"Viva la
right.
revolution!"
I'm doing that every time I go by a construction site. I'm like, "Viva la France!"
Macron resign.
So it's picking up, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I was happy to see protests here in the U.S. in solidarity with France. There's one in Dallas where they like brought a guillotine to the courthouse, and they're all armed with ARs and whatnot because it's Texas. But it was
I never
just
thought of that. I'd just bring chalk. Man, I should bring a guillotine.
Yeah, bring a guillotine or start bringing your
We should build a
arms.
guillotine.
Yeah, so that was cool. I like seeing this pop up, but even in the groups that I'm in, like on social media, you can still see it's like the yellow vest America, and you can see the division. People still playing into the party politics, and it's like, no, this is like a movement like Anonymous. Like it's supposed to be all inclusive and set all that shit aside so we can make a change for real.
Yeah,
right?
and the other part about America is it's so easy to co-opt shit, just like, you know,
Which
the
is
original
definitely
Tea
what's
Party and the
happening.
Occupy groups were,
Right.
you know, actual independent groups, and then the political parties turned them into fucking
More political.
shit.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. Like I talk to like even coworkers and people that I know that are like Tea Partier types, like against taxation, like talk shit on what's going on in France, and it's like, bro, they're doing what you believe. You know what I mean? Like they're fighting against the tax. And
Right.
that's
Those
how it
are
started
teabaggers.
anyways.
Yeah. The teabaggers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it's like anything that comes out of France is, you know, I don't
Oh,
want anything
cheese.
to do with it. It's like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah,
These
France has
people
a lot
have
of
done
cheese.
more for their people by getting into the streets and winning concession after concession from Macron and bringing this Rothschild banker to his knees. Like, it's beautiful. Like, I love seeing it. So I
Listen,
hope that
they
it
have
picks up steam.
a history of doing this. I mean, they've driven up onto, the steps of federal buildings there and dumped piles of manure. The farmers
Yeah.
coming
That
and
was
blocking
amazing.
with tractors. The people really are cohesive. When things get too far out of control and too oppressive,
Yeah.
they will make their voices heard.
I saw a video, one guy driving a sewage truck, and they were just shooting shit all over the Parliament building. It was
Yeah.
fucking crazy.
This is what needs to be done. You have to make a statement. You have to make it loud,
Yeah.
or they don't hear.
And they like stormed one of Macron's like castle getaways. The Yellow Vest did. That was beautiful. I saw like a clip that we shared of the bank door of the Bank of France on fire. Like,
Yeah.
people are going after the right people. Go after the bankers. Go after the politicians. And it's like, I just love seeing it. As soon as they take over the means of production, like,
Yeah, wasn't it in
We'll move
France
over
where
to
they had that
France.
video where the guy threw the dildo and hit the guy in the face?
Yeah.
It was fucking during the last election.
Yeah, I saw that video. I don't remember if it was France or not, but that was a good video.
yeah.
It bounced right off the
Anytime you
stage.
throw something and hit a politician, whether it's a shoe at Bush or something at Hillary or, Macron, somebody threw an egg and hit Macron. I saw that video.
Yeah.
That was just the other week.
I wonder if they got some kind of school or something, because it's hard to have that kind of accuracy from a distance.
Especially under
Yeah.
pressure. Like, pretty impressive.
It's that
That's why-
three-pointer from the
Well, that's why I want
the
to
line,
I want to bring back the slings, because
full court.
you can be pretty accurate with the swing if you practice.
Police force admits passing footage of disabled protesters to DWP. Oh, this was despicable. So this was a protest against, I think it was fracking, and there's disabled protesters, and cops passed it on to like whoever they get disability from, that office, and trying to get them to lose their benefits for protesting, for exercising your First Amendment rights. We're going to try to get you to lose your disability. Like,
Yeah.
that's so dirty, dude. So underhanded.
But that's what pigs. We say pigs,
Yeah.
for a reason.
Oh, I like your comment here too, Kelly. Did you see that? Here we go. Entire video erased. Court, raw video of Daniel Hambrick shooting accidentally erased. Accidentally. It's just article after article, folks. We don't have enough time here. Syracuse cops force doctors to probe a man's rectum for drugs, then bill the man for it.
Which is not the first time that's happened either.
Right.
There's been like 3 or 4 of those.
In the news. It probably happens more often than not. It just doesn't get reported like this.
So look, I mean, I'm scrolling and scrolling. We're only on December 20th. The last show we did was December 4th. So there's still like 2 weeks, over 2 weeks worth of articles here for us that we could go through and show you. But we've already talked about enough, I think.
Yeah,
so
man.
I think we're going to
We don't want to ruin your New Year's that much.
Yeah.
We just wanted to catch you up a bit.
Let me see if I can find some good news here. Hold on. That was a lot of depressing shit.
We do appreciate you guys listening and tuning in and supporting us because we do have a lot of support. So thank you guys and everybody who out there listens and watches what we do. It's pretty cool. Get out there, but share the information too. I mean, just because you know it, man. Keep sharing and sharing the news so more people can become awoke with this.
Mm-hmm. Bank apologizes for calling police on black man trying to cash his paycheck.
Yeah, that was a fucked up story too, man. Holy shit.
Accidentally. That's classic.
Fucking sick ass motherfuckers.
I don't think I had. I don't think I showed this when we were talking about it, but yeah, there it is. Yeah, so there's just weeks and weeks of stories. I'm trying to find some good news here. Hopefully, police
I think you're on the
sergeant
wrong page.
pleads guilty to felony but won't face jail. No, that's not good news.
That's good for him.
We could go back to the train yard one.
Yeah, that was good news. Bexar County deputy accused of threatening to shoot up place and kill people. Yeah, so Bexar County again.
Yeah. And that's
Here's good news. We found
that's
good
not
news.
a hollow threat either.
No charges for father who shot a cop 6 times after it was found to be in self-defense. So no charges against
There
him.
we go.
There we go. Good news. All right.
We'll leave you with good news.
We'll leave you with that, folks. Events going on. We've got Food Not Bombs Sunday.
Yeah, around 11:30ish. Check out the page. Find the location. It's hey, listen, it's deep freeze tonight, folks. Anybody who's watching this, man, and if you have an ability to get out there and throw some blankets, gloves, hats, scarves, or socks, excuse me, please go out there and drop it if you see somebody. They're going to need it really, really bad and desperately tonight.
There's a protest tomorrow against Turnkey Property Solutions, Sadako Bay LLC.
Rip off.
It's tomorrow, 3650 East Russell Road, tomorrow at 11 a.m. Come out and protest with us in front of Turnkey Property Solutions, a horrible property management company that rents out uninhabitable homes and preys on vulnerable families in our community. Check for the event on Facebook. They got a good link by KTNV out here that covered it. It's one of our good friends that actually fell victim to this
Scam.
company.
They're scam artists. That's exactly what they are.
Other than that, I don't... Oh, there's a Sunday, January 6th, video and panel on Israeli occupation of Palestine, put on by Jewish Voices for Peace, Las Vegas. It is Sunday, January 6th, 3:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. at the Clark County Library, 1401 East Flamingo Road, Las Vegas, Nevada 89119. Again, the event's on Facebook. I'm definitely going to try to make it to that after work. Other than that, that's all I see here. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. We will be back again next week with hopefully a lot less stuff to talk about.
Man, maybe we'll do some funny stuff.
Yeah.
If we can find anything amusing.
Yeah, if there's nothing funny, we'll do some tricks.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks
We
for
were
watching,
thinking about having
guys.
that eating
Good night.
contest.
Oh, wait. Here's some comments.
Oh, hey.
Paul J. Salerno.
Yeah.
What's up,
could you
Paul? What's up, Rose? What's up, Corey? Much love, brother.
Hey, this is great. I like this.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Damn, keep on sending those comments, man. We'll keep checking next time. We'll respond while we're doing it.
Yeah, my bad. All right, everyone. Have a good one.
Good night.